episode of Dixie Dems, the podcast from Lean to the Left that takes an irreverent look at politics in the South, as well as nationwide. We'll talk about candidates, Trump's legal troubles, the big Supreme Court gerrymandering decision, and much more. So stay with us.
Welcome to Lean to the Left, home of no-holds-barred commentary, plus interviews with fascinating people. Some of them top experts, others simply with interesting stories to tell. You'll never know who'll show up at Lean to the Left. Now here's your host, Bob Gaddy.
Hey guys, welcome to the Lean to the Left podcast and the June 2023 episode of the Dixie Dems with my partners, Arthur Hill from North Carolina and Robert Thompson from Georgia. Now, Arthur is first vice chair of the Brunswick County, North Carolina Democratic Party, and Robert is based in Atlanta. He founded Peach News Now and its opinion podcast, Goddamn Liberals. That's G-O-T, damn liberals. Me, I'm based in South Carolina, the state where two Republican candidates are taking on Donald Trump in the Republican presidential sweepstakes. They, of course, are former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, former UN ambassador for Trump, and Senator Tim Scott, the only African-American GOP U.S. Senator. Oh, it's also the state where Senator Lindsey Graham, still sucking up to Trump despite his indictment for violating the Espionage Act in that classified records case, said of Trump, "At least he isn't a spy." Good grief. Hey guys, welcome. Arthur, tell us what's going on in North Carolina. You've got a big Supreme Court decision on gerrymandering coming up, right?
Yeah, we do, I think, or maybe not. It depends on what happens. The state Supreme Court tossed out the gerrymandering decision they made a year ago when Democrats were controlling the Supreme Court and reinstalled the maps that the legislature had put in earlier, and that became the subject of a federal suit. And the judge in that suit called the maps that the Republicans produced the most racist they ever seen. Now, that's germane because in the case that the U.S. Supreme Court just decided about the Alabama gerrymandering decision, they said that those maps were racist and they would have to be withdrawn. I don't know exactly what the procedure is. I guess the revised maps or the maps that need to be approved again will be submitted to the State Board of Elections, and then depending on the decision that's made there, they'll be sued by the Democrats in federal court, and they'll have a pretty good argument to make that once they were considered racist, and maybe they should be considered racist again, and tossed out because of the U.S. Supreme Court's Alabama decision. A little convoluted and involved, but that's what's going on, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, it's really tough to recruit candidates to your cause when you're not real sure what the congressional districts are going to be or the state legislative districts are going to look like. So that's a little bit frustrating from our point of view. And thankfully, we got a little time. The legislature goes out on July the 4th after they approve the budget, and they don't reconvene again till September. We've got some time, I guess, but it'd be nice to know if you're running for Congress, it'd be nice to know what your district looks like.
Yeah, that's for sure. We're going to get to that in South Carolina too, because we got some of that redistricting stuff coming up as well. What else you got going on there?
I talked about the budget, and nobody really seems to know what the budget is going to say yet, except that once the budget is approved and signed by the governor, then the provision that allows North Carolina to participate in expanded Medicaid will take effect. So everybody's looking forward to that. They're constitutionally required to get the budget out and approved by July the 4th. we should know by then whether or not we got a budget and that expanded Medicaid will kick in. Fairly good sign, unless the Republicans in the legislature attach some onerous policy provisions to the budget. But again, we haven't heard what that's going to be. So we're waiting for that. And then the other major feud that's going on right now are changes in some of the election laws that the Republicans are trying to get through. They want to mandate that absentee ballots have to arrive at the Board of Elections by Election Day before they allowed a 3-day hang time following Election Day for ballots that were postmarked before Election Day to arrive. Democrats are raising hell about that because they said in the 1920 election, 12,000 ballots arrived at the Board of Elections offices after Election Day that were appropriately postmarked. So they're accusing the Republicans of denying the vote to at least 12,000 of those citizens that were, or they would have if this provision had been in effect. So there's that going on as well. And as usual, it's a battle between Republicans and Democrats over the elements of democracy.
As usual.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what do you have going on, Robert?
Apparently, the lady that, is elected from Northwest Georgia, she wanted to have her own episode of Dynasty.
The lady,
if that's what you want to call her. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was calling Lauren Boebert a little bitch on the House floor this week.
That's who you're talking about? Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What did you say she called Boebert?
A little bitch.
She is little.
That's another reason why I wore my pearls today, that this is not very ladylike. These are quite some antics that are going down. And I guess she was unhappy that there was a vote that was not quite going her way. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen these kind of antics since I watched shows like Dynasty back in the 80s with these ladies snatching hair and wanting to throw down like this. Speaking of these other elected officials from Georgia, Mr. Barry Loudermilk, who was my former congressman, basically Northwest Metro Atlanta.
You really like this Loudermilk guy. You talk about him a lot.
The problem is, and the reason why is he's just as extreme as the rest of them, but nobody talks about him.
Yeah. I never heard of him until you started talking about him.
Yeah. And he's bankrolled. I went out to FEC right before we went on the thing. He has thousands and thousands of donations as recent as the reporting deadline of March 31st. Wells Fargo, Capital One, Southern Company, Georgia Power, AT&T, Delta. They're getting thousands of dollars going to the likes of Barry Loudermilk just because he's not as sensational, but they all vote the same.
Yeah.
And never mind, you've got George Santos from New York. They're keeping him out of jail so that he's like their last swing vote because they have just barely a majority, if you want to call it that, in the House.
Yeah.
This is what they've got their strings pulled together. But if you want to know about Barry Loudermilk, I'll be glad to sit down. This is the guy that's calling for civility. I guess he's trying to be the Republican daddy of the group. I don't know. He needs to call next door to Marjorie because literally Marjorie's district is right next door to Barry's district, and ask her to stop using 5-letter words that are not very ladylike on the House floor if he's calling for civility.
Is that why you wore your pearls today?
Yeah. Who wouldn't clutch their pearls over this kind of act? Call her mama. Is her mom happy that she's using this kind of stuff on the? I doubt it.
So this is on the record. This is on the record. She said it.
Yeah. Go figure. But also, let's continue about Mr. Loudermilk. He is also back on his Merit Act that he wants to fire federal workers who are not doing their job or were doing certain things while they were on the job. That this is coming from a guy that has not held a town hall in years and actually done his job. But okay. They have also appointed Loudermilk. He is going to chair this special committee about January 6th. Now, if you remember, this is Loudermilk that was giving people tours the day before January 6th down in the basement of the House, because that's prime stuff. If you want to go to DC, you want to go see the basement of the House and see what's going on down there.
Oh, yeah.
That's always been on my wish list.
He's the perfect guy to lead the Republican. Yeah.
I give people tours of my basement, except we don't have one, so I can't do that. But
I give people tours of my crawl space.
I think what you heard there is that you remember the Republicans talking about the big guy in the basement. Well, apparently it was Barry Loudermilk down in the basement of the Capitol building. This is the guy that Republicans think are going to lead their subcommittee on January 6th.
Okay.
The list just goes on and on. This is Loudermilk. He campaigned with child molester Josh Duggar. He did vaccinate his kids, but sure enough, keep on. I'm going to list you out again because follow the money and hit them in the Wells Fargo, Capital One, Southern Company, Georgia Power, AT&T, Delta. Why are you giving money to these crazy people? I guess you're getting something out of it. You tell me.
You have another famous guy, a more famous guy that's going to be in the news soon as a result of action in Georgia. His name is, he's got initials, DJT.
Oh, be my guest. And I feel like the prosecutors across America are just standing on line. Remember the JCPenney catalog line? You had to go in and take a number and now serving. That imagine that with all the prosecutors across America. They're just waiting on their turn. Is it going to be me this month? Is it me next week? These indictments write themselves. He is the worst defendant in America.
He really is.
The cases write themselves.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll see what happens to that. But that also segues into, so a week or two ago, the Georgia Republican Party had their conference, and they went all the way to Columbus, Georgia. If you're not sure where Columbus, Georgia is, it's right on the border with Alabama. Maybe that was strategic, I'm not sure. But they did not hold the Georgia Republican conference in Metro Atlanta. I wonder why. And the current governor, Kemp, he skipped it. He said, you guys have fun. I'm not going to be a part of this. He was too busy actually kicking Georgians off Medicaid to worry about going to his own convention there. So who is the Georgia Republican chairman? Mr. Josh McCoon. By the way, he sings horrible karaoke. Have had the pleasure years ago of actually being in the same establishment where we both sang karaoke, and he's horrible.
Any better?
I want to say yes. It was all those years of church choir.
There you go.
Yes, it was all those years of church choir. I'm a good karaoke singer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't think, hey, Arthur, do you want to hear a sample?
Maybe we'll try one day.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sing something you used to sing in church choir.
Yeah, let's hear something, Robert.
But it's much better with background music. We'll have to do this and try to engineer it a little better. It's hard to do it a cappella. You're putting me on, guys. So.
What
I'm a delicate snowflake with my pearls. So, yeah. So good luck, Mr. Kuhn. What a task you have. You were going to try to somewhat bring together what's left of the Georgia Republican Party. You have your standing governor that skipped out on you, and you've got basically scraps on the butcher floor that you're going to try to scrap together into some kind of sausage that I have no interest in eating of what's left with the Republican Party here. Yeah.
You have no interest in eating? Is that what you said?
That's what he said.
Would you?
No.
Would you have any interest in the rest of what the Republicans have thrown out on the butcher floor?
Are you kidding?
I don't even have any interest in what they did not throw out.
Yeah, for sure. All right. You know what? I want to know what you think is going to come down with respect to a possible indictment in Georgia of Trump.
Stay tuned. Especially it's coming in July. Miss Fonnie Willis has said that she's not swayed by anything going on in Florida and these other things, and apparently it's going to come in July. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Trump will have to go. He'll have to go to Atlanta and get his fingerprints taken again, right?
Yeah.
Same
Well, you
thing.
know what? After all of this stuff, after
Well, it's going to be a campaign stop for him. It's going to be a campaign stop for him. Remember, he doesn't go anywhere unless before and after it's a campaign stop. By the way, I want to point out when he was in Florida, he went to near the courthouse, promised to pay for everybody's meal, and of course he skipped out and didn't do it. Imagine that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He stiffs the restaurant owner.
all right. So I want to know what you guys think about these Republican candidates who are falling all over themselves about whether if they were elected president, they would pardon Trump, assuming that Trump is going to need to be pardoned, that they would pardon Trump. They're just falling all over themselves. Some of them were, oh, yeah, I would right away. And please, Trump supporters, support me. And then other ones saying, well, I don't know if I will. I think I should, but the guy is a crook, and I don't know. So what do you guys think about all of that?
I remember in the Nixon days that I remember how I felt when Ford pardoned Nixon. I was working on the Senate at that time, and my boss was one of the undecideds in terms of whether to convict. So we were kind of looking forward to being involved in that trial. And then all of a sudden, Ford cut the legs out from underneath us and pardoned Nixon. Now I'm older, and I probably wouldn't get as upset if he was pardoned. And I think it would really be fascinating to see what would happen if Biden pardoned him before the election, before election day 2024. I think that would cut the legs out from under Trump and would help out Biden a little bit. But as far as his Republican challengers are concerned, the only guy I'm interested in listening to is Chris Christie. He seems to want to be the only one to tell it like it is. But I don't think he said anything about pardon, at least not that I've read.
How embarrassing that you were the two major parties we have here in the US, and the debate point is whether you're going to pardon the leader on that side of the fence. Really?
Yeah, the guy who was the head of the world, I guess you could say. Anyway, these two yahoos that are running against Trump from South Carolina, Nikki Haley and what's this other guy's name? Senator Scott. Yeah, that's right. Senator Scott. Haley goes, well, I'd be inclined to pardon him, even though his actions on January 6th put first responders in danger. But then she dragged in the plea deal between the Justice Department and Hunter Biden, saying that there's a double standard. And it's what the Republicans are all doing now. They're jumping on that, and they're saying they're treating Trump like shit. They're going to indict him. They're going to convict him. He's going to go to jail. But look at what they do with Hunter Biden. And they just slap on the wrist. And so there's a double standard, one for Republicans and one for Democrats, which is just total crap.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't the person that is behind the Hunter Biden deal, that person was appointed by Trump, right?
The prosecutor was appointed by Trump, and the judge was appointed by Trump.
Yeah. So come on.
So I'm going to give you nicknames because, Republicans are great about giving Democrats nicknames. Nikki Haley's nickname is Karen, and Tim Scott is Token. So you got Token and Karen from South Carolina, and they hope to get to the White House.
Those are good. Those are good nicknames. Yeah, all right. And then Haley, this one really got me too. She accused Barack Obama of dividing America by race and gender. because he took issue with her claim that America is not racist. Now, wasn't it her old boss, excuse me, who set out to divide America that way and was spectacularly successful? Wasn't it her old boss, Donald Trump, that did that?
But look, it looks pretty beneficial to them as they got a black senator in South Carolina.
Yeah, that's right.
This whole, oh my God, where do I start? Again, Token and Karen, those are their new names, run with it.
Haley, to me, Haley should just shut up. She said that a lot of times people support Haley because they think that she did a good thing when she got rid of the Confederate flag at the Capitol in Columbia, at the State House in Columbia, when she was governor. But then the Washington Post did a story the other day saying that she was forced to do that because of the massacre at that church in Charleston, where all those people were killed while they were trying to pray. Prior to that, she had said that the Confederate flag was about heritage. So it just is hypocritical again, just typical hypocritical bullshit.
A lot of people supported her in doing that, and I think a lot of folks still remember that. They don't remember the circumstances surrounding it as much, but she does get credit for doing that. And for a while there, I thought that she would make a really good candidate for the Republican Party for president. What's happened and what she's done since then washes that away. She's just turned into another Trump acolyte. But at least for a little while there, she got a little bit of credit across the board, bipartisan credit for taking down that flag.
Yeah, she did. But apparently it wasn't all that altruistic what she did. Now, the other day, Scott visited Myrtle Beach. He had a pretty good crowd. The local press interviewed some people at the event, and the people that they interviewed that I saw in the report, in the local report, said that they were Trump people and they liked Scott, but they wanted Scott as a VP nominee, not as president, because they were going to support Trump, even though Trump has got some problems. Some of them acknowledge Trump has some problems.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So to me, though, that's the angle that both of those people are playing. Don't you think that they're saying they're running for president, but they're really running for vice president? Do you agree with that or not?
They're never going to admit it.
Yeah.
They are. They might talk about it amongst themselves or with their staff and that sort of thing, but they're never going to admit publicly that they're running for vice president. They're going to insist until their dying day that they want to sit in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And pundits can say, "Oh, that'd be a good vice presidential candidate," and that's probably what they're going for. But you're never going to hear them say that.
Yeah, exactly.
The clown car sure is full. I don't know where they're going to have to add several trailers on this clown car because it's packed full.
I guess there's going to be a lot of vice presidents.
A lot of vice presidents. Well, that's presuming Trump gets elected. As for Trump, he's scheduled to make his first visit to South Carolina since being twice indicted on Saturday, July 1st at the city of Pickens ahead of their Independence Day celebration. That ought to be really interesting.
Are you going to go?
Am I going to go?
Yeah.
I'd half tempted to go and take my mic and interview some people. But that would mean I'd have to actually work and do some work in the field. And I don't know if I have the energy to do that.
Would you wear your T-shirt?
I could wear my T-shirt. I could wear the one that shows ketchup up against the wall that time. Trump threw ketchup up against the wall. Anyway, all right. So down here, we're going to have a gerrymandering case before the Supreme Court too, I think. Earlier this month, they upheld a prohibition against racial gerrymandering in Alabama. And that was a surprise. They agreed to consider a lower court decision that struck down a congressional district as an illegal racial gerrymander. Now, here in South Carolina, a lower court held that the congressional district that includes Charleston, it's now represented by Republican Nancy Mace, constituted an unconstitutional racial gerrymander in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment because race was the predominant factor in the adoption of the plan. South Carolina Republicans asked the Supreme Court to take the case up, arguing that the Republican-led legislature took politics into consideration when drawing their map, not race. So given the Alabama decision, it'll be interesting, I think, to see what the conservative-dominated Supreme Court does in this South Carolina case, which I think the results would have broad ramifications nationally. What do you guys think about all that?
What's the difference between that case and the Alabama case?
I don't know. But the thing is that was a surprise, that Alabama case, that
tomato ketchup.
Yeah, it seems, as Kavanaugh said during his Senate confirmation hearings, that's all settled law.
Right.
Now.
They also said abortion was settled law.
Why would the U.S. Supreme Court want to review a decision it just made in the light of another case that's broadly similar to the one they just considered? I don't understand.
Good question.
But I guess we'll find out.
Yep. So there was another development here in South Carolina. It's not as far-reaching as the gerrymandering case, but it's really important, I think. And that is this local community, Conway, which is the county seat of Horry County, which is where Myrtle Beach is, Conway. Their mayor and city council had passed a resolution, a harmless resolution, meaningless resolution, really, declaring June to be Pride Month. They had this meeting the other day at the council chambers, and it was packed with preachers and religious conservatives who showed up and claimed that it was a bad thing, that the city of Conway shouldn't be doing that once again brought out the old trope about a marriage being between a man and a woman and all that stuff. And one guy had a sign, something about Jesus, and just on and on. And it's just, to me, it's disgusting. The resolution basically said that LGBTQ residents deserve to feel safe and respected in their homes, neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. Now, what I want to know is, why is that objectable to anybody?
Because the crazy Bible thumpers told them to say that.
Yeah.
It's you've got a billboard here in Marietta, Georgia. You got some crazy non-denominational church over here that has put up a billboard with pride colors on it, saying that they feel safe to be delivered or something like that. If you go and follow the money, I believe the news stories are out there, this whole stuff, and we've talked about it several times on our episodes, that have been written, and some of them have been successful and pasted. Where did they come from? It's these crazy evangelical, extreme right-wing people that are out there trying to get this stuff passed. And just because Karen said such and such, that they're all on their bandwagon, and they only show up when they feel like they have a band of 10 or 12 people that are going to do this. And it's the same old story over and over again.
Yeah, it's an absolute unjustifiable and unquantitative panic that's going on in the Republican Party. The General Assembly here is getting ready to pass a bill that outlaws transgenders in athletics contests. You know how many transgender girls have applied to play for girls' sports programs in high school in the last 10 years in North Carolina? 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
4. That's it. And
Yeah.
so we've got to take up the time of the whole General Assembly to pass a law that because they're pissed off at 4 kids who wanted to play sports at the expense of the pride and the well-being and the peace of every transgender girl and boy in the state. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah. That seems to be going on all over the country, and we've talked about that before. It's just to me, it's just terrible the way they're treating people. But once again, it's just typical of the Republican Party, in my opinion.
Yep.
You guys got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about DeSantis.
Oh, okay, go.
There was an article, I think it was in the Times this week, about how he keeps changing the way he pronounces his name. Did you see that?
No.
At first, he called himself
DeSantis.
Yeah. And I think probably his staff said, probably not a good idea for guys running for president to have a name that begins with duh. So he started calling himself DeSantis. And we're looking forward to finding out what the next iteration of his name is. So that apparently has been a real problem inside the DeSantis campaign.
I guess he got tired of death, Santis.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All I got to say is duh.
But he just keeps falling further and further back, doesn't he? I mean, he's just
It's pitiful.
what a deflated balloon.
And that's the best chance they have.
Yeah.
Pence was on Fox News with that Callie McInerney or whoever the other day. He was all fired up. I was like,
I've never seen
you've got this commotion and this chaos, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, who is this Mike Pence?
You said he was fired.
It was like it was like the lizard people had snatched his body, and he was literally fired up about something. I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
But he's a biker now too, so he was in leather the other day riding his bike through Iowa. I don't know where that came from either. Yeah.
He was riding a motorcycle?
Yeah. Who knew that Mike Pence wears leather and rides motorcycles?
Does mother go with him?
Exactly. Is she on the back? I don't know.
In the back seat. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe that's how he gets rid of the fly on his forehead when he.
I was thinking of that. I was just.
Bless his heart.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. There we have it. Another episode of the Dixie Dems, which I think is just a wonderful show. I hope you guys are enjoying it, because this is true insight that we are throwing out to you.
Take it to the bank.
What'd you say?
Take it to the bank.
Yeah, take it to the bank. Okay, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and that you learned something as well. Please come back on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that I hope you find interesting, entertaining, and enlightening. And you can check out the schedule of upcoming shows, guests, and topics at podcast.leantotheleft.net. You can also subscribe to our audio version there or to our video shows here at YouTube. And follow us on social media. Facebook at the Lean to the Left Podcast, Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at BobGaddy_Lean to the Left, and TikTok at Lean to the Left. Our goal is to be informative and entertaining as we and our guests comment on the latest developments in the news and about the social issues that concern us all. This is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.